Hello, Alex RC Freak here, coming at you with another video on how to do castle connectors. So basically what you got here, what's nice about these is they tell you ESC. These are 200 amp constant rated connectors, 6.5 millimeter bullet connectors. Great connectors, and once you learn a couple tricks, they're really easy to solder. So I'm not saying they're the easiest, but they're pretty simple, and I'm going to show you the way I do it. So anyway, let's jump into it. So this is a Hobbywing Max 6 ESC. What you'll need is obviously ESC or some sort of ESC. Solder. I like to use this thinner gauge solder. Don't ask me the actual gauge because it's some old solder I've had lying around. Rosin core. Really nice solder. Anyway, and obviously you want to stick the positive. There's a positive side right here, and there's a negative side. I'll show a little slit and a little plus, for positive negative, and it'll tell you ESC. So you want to stick your connector through the positive wire through the positive side, and this negative wire through the negative side, and you just want to push the connector through. Okay, now there's no connector inside there right now, nothing's inside there. So anyway, now this may be a long video, so bear with me please, and it's not going to be edited either. So anyway, this is the connector right here. So basically what you got here is you fill this with solder. So you heat up the edge here, fill this with solder, and then you want to make sure you don't get solder, if you can, on the side of this. So don't spill it. Don't go above this little notch right here. There's going to be a little groove right here. Don't go above that. So, because you don't want to get solder on these right here. So, and you don't want to tap these in like that, because you'll spread these out and it'll just be a mess. So anyway, but yeah, I'm going to show you. Some people hate these connectors, and if you don't like them, that's fine. If you do, great. I like them. It's just they're, once you learn the tricks to soldering them, they're not that bad. So I'm going to show you what I do. So basically, what I do is, let me show you something on my thing. I put a little weight, 1.25 inch weights on my little helping hands here, is what they call these. And I got field tubing for Nitro RC on this side, so that way when you touch the wires, it won't damage the wire, because these jagged edges right here will sometimes damage the wire when you're heating up the wire with solder and such. But anyway, if you notice on these, I want to show you something. See how it has this little cutout right here? This bigger, it works great for holding these. You stick this right in the center now. Let me show you here. So you take this, stick it in there like that. Make sure it's kind of level, straight. Make sure these are tight. That's tight. Okay, so I soldered these to this little rod here. I put some solder using a mini torch and soldered it there, so that way they're nice and these don't get all loose and stuff, because they kind of get loose. So you want to fill this with solder. First, you're going to want to tin the wire. So you grab this other helping hands right here, and you're going to want to tin, especially this wire. It's not wire. You want to put, tinning the wires is basically just putting a little bit of solder on the wire. So you don't, and you just want to twist the wire. These, I already cut the insulation using the X-Acto knife. Now how I do it is, you have the X-Acto knife here, and you take it and you cut, you twist the wire down like this, and you take the X-Acto knife blade and you go around like that, and you cut it and you pull away just a smidge, and then you take your fingernail and just gently pull it off, and then you want to twist the wire like this. You don't want to let it sit there. You want to twist the wire just gently and do that. Make sure you have a sharp X-Acto knife blade. Be careful so you don't slice your finger. You just want to gently do it. Always keep a sharp X-Acto knife blade on hand, always. So, but like I say, that's at your own risk, so make sure you don't cut your finger. Just saying. You also make wire strippers, but for thicker gauge wire, sometimes they don't strip the wire insulation very well. So anyway, let's get this tinning started here. I'm going to grab a piece of solder, straighten it out. Okay, it's plugged in. Now my hands, I'm going to try to do it without my hands being in the way, but I can't guarantee anything here. So I'm doing the best I can on this. So anyway, what you want to do, put a little bit of solder on the tip of your soldering iron. Let it kind of melt into the wire. Now kind of hold the solder on the wire gently and it will melt in. Just give it some time. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. Kind of melt in the wire. There you go. See how it's kind of melting in? And there you go. You want to get it all nice. Make sure you don't get a straggler that's sticking up like that. There you go. You don't need to go hog wild and, just get enough solder on there where it's nice and tinned. Because you don't want to wick the wire. Wicking the wire is where you have a pool of solder, you dip the wire in there, and you get the wire so hot that it'll suck all the solder through the wire and make it like hard as a rock. So you want to make sure you're still flexible. So you kind of want to be quickly when you do that. So basically you just take this and see how the insulation of the wire isn't damaged with the rubber fuel tubing. It's all nice and good shape. So anyway, we're going to go to the next wire here. So stick it on. You just don't want to be gentle with this. You don't want to like go hog wild crazy on it. So anyway, put a little bit of solder on the tip of your soldering iron there. Just a little bit. Stick a little bit more on there so you can kind of get contact. And just heat it up a little bit. Now my soldering iron is a dual stage Weller soldering iron. It's 260 watts and 200 watts. And it really just, look at that, it just melts that solder in there. Now you don't want an overabundance of it. Just let it kind of seep through the wire there. Kind of melt through the wire. And you can flick off any excess. Yeah, this one. See, I like to do my own soldering, like this. Pre-tinning the wires is actually what they call this. And it's a very good idea to do it. And you will need to do it to all the wires. So we're going to go over here to this side and do it to the same thing to this side. Now the factory, this is the wire off the ESC. Now the factory's already pre-tinned these. So, kind of. They didn't do a very good job. So, I'm going to fix that job and make it a lot better. Stick a little bit of solder on your soldering iron tip. And you don't want to glob it on. You want to keep your soldering iron tip clean. Just kind of do that, heat it up. Do that, flick it a little bit. That's kind of what I do. Kind of my thing I do. I'm not saying I'm the most amazing, perfect solderer out there, but I'm just showing you the way I personally do it. So you just take it. Now be careful when you set these down. These are a little bit hot. I'm just kind of going through it here. Make sure you twist that so there's no stragglers. Like straggler pieces of wire hanging up. Wire strands. So anyway, take it. Heat it up. Okay. So, you got all your wires pre-tinned here. They're all hot. Make sure they're all pre-tinned nice. They're good. So, basically you got your connector through there. Now, you want to make sure you get the polarities correct. So, this wire that swings over, this wire needs to go to the positive side of your connector. So this needs to go to the positive side. So this will go through the positive side, just like so. Like that. And then obviously this will go through the negative side. So you just kind of want to scoot these down as far as you can. Just so that way they're out of the way. You don't want them to get melted. I'm just checking my polarities. So this is negative. This is that wire that goes over to make it a series connector. So you want to go negative to positive. And then this this one on negative. So, okay, yeah, we're good. I just want to make sure, double check, because you don't want to unsolder these and clip them in. They're kind of a pain in the rear. So, they say you can reuse these connectors and pop them back out. I wouldn't want to pop them back out. Just buy new connectors. It's a lot easier, trust me. So, like I say, we're going to start soldering these in here. Want to make sure all these wires are good. You don't want to damage the ESC in any sort of way. First off, what you want to do is, just hold on a second here. You want to get a wire brush. It's my suggestion, a wire brush like this, okay? And you got the tip of your nozzle. Now do it with it off. So you can do it with it on, and when it's all hot, you want to clean the nozzle with a steel wire brush. You can use brass too, but you want to make sure your wire brush is clean with no grease residue, nothing like that. Just take it, just kind of do like this, clean it, because you want that outside clean with no solder on it, because you don't want solder on the outside of this when you solder it. So I'm going to show you how I do it. I'm going to stick the ESC aside for a minute. We made sure the polarities are correct. Grab your solder here, a nice long rod of it, make sure it's kind of straight. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flat part of the soldering iron, tilt it up like that, and let it heat up just a little bit. Now this might take a few seconds, maybe a minute or so it's not that bad. Like I say, this video may be a long video, but I'm showing you how I do it. There you go. With a good soldering iron, it just melts in there fairly quickly. And you just keep running it in there. Make sure you do not burn yourself. Be very cautious of that. This is very hot. Now don't fill it all the way. Don't fill it all the way. There's that little divot here. Remember? Do not fill it all the way. Now clean off your tip again, just in case you got some solder residue on it. You don't want that on the outside. So just light clean it. Now here's where it comes in handy. Just grab your ESC. Take this. Now make sure this is as straight as possible when you stick the wire in. My hand's in the way. Let me just try to not get my hand in the way here. Okay, so I'm going to use needle nose pliers and very gently grab this wire. Gently grab the wire. Now I'm going to take my soldering iron, stick it on the thing, heat up the thing to where the soldering is melting, just molten or whatever. It's kind of melted in there. Stick this in there. It's all hot. It'll melt together. You want to make sure the wire is straight up and down. So that way there we go. It's kind of a pain sometimes to solder, because you want to get this straight up and down, because if you don't do it straight up and down, it can be a real pain in the back end. But you can always heat it up and readjust it, so it's not like it's the end of the world, just so anyone knows. Stick a little bit more solder. You want to fill this with solder. Like I say, I can't emphasize this enough. Make sure the wire is straight up and down. This one is not. I know what you're saying. You're like, it's no straight up and down in your video. There you go. Hold it. This wire is pretty hot. Roll dry, straight up and down. Now these helping hands, these things, they kind of move a little bit. So it's kind of hard to do it, you know, sometimes. But like I say, make sure this wire is straight up and down, straight in there, and hold it there until it dries a little bit. Then take it out. Okay, see how my solder is? The only thing I don't like about the thinner solder, see how it gets all bent? You know, no matter how gentle you are, and it bends very easily. Straighten it out. Try to make sure it's straight at all times so when you go in there. And I like to use strips. Some people will take a roll like this, hold it like this with their 2 fingers, and just keep rolling it out like that. I don't like doing that. It doesn't work for me. Some people may have that skill. I don't. So anyway, you let this dry. That's how I do it. I just kind of lightly touch it. It's still a little bit warm. It'll be all right. This is warm, so be careful. You can stick this on here to cool it down. Let's get started with this here. So first off, you can just take this, stick it like that. You don't want to damage any of the insulation. Take this, stick it up in the air like that. It'll cool down. You got to melt solder into this. So, like I say, you take this, you take your solder, you heat it up. You want to make sure this tip is clean with a wire brush. This one is. You do not want solder getting on the edge of this. Now this is a patience thing. If you have patience, you can do it very easily. And if you happen to get solder on the edge, it's not the end of the world. It does make these connectors go in, when you pop in, a little bit harder, but it's, like I say, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to take it with it kind of warm. Make sure to clean the tip. This is how I do it, and I'm just letting you know it's worked for me. If somebody has a better way of doing this, great. So be it. But I'm just going to make sure my tip's clean. You always want to make sure it's clean anyway, because it gives it a nice, better contact. So anyway, that's still hot. You can take this wire. This wire's cooled down probably by now enough. It's still a little bit warm, but whatever. Take this, twist these wires if you do have some stragglers. And you may want to get something to stick your ESC up on. I happen to have this little stand thing. Plop it up like this. So, let's get this party started here. Now let's be patient. It'll heat up. There you go, it's starting to heat up. There you go. Feel it drop all the way in. That one didn't need any more solder. And it's kind of a skill thing. Once you get once you kind of get how to fill these cups up to the right amount, to where you're not overflowing them, but you just get them to the perfect amount where you drop the wire in, and the rest of the solder pulls up around the top, you know, edge, and stays flush with the edge, you don't need to add any more solder. It's just kind of a feel for it. So once you get that done, you're good to go. But yeah, so you just let this one kind of, it's a little hot. Just kind of be careful, you know. Let's take this, stick it back up on its little perch here. Go back to the next one. Yeah, see, this stuff's hot, so be careful you don't burn your hands. It's really hot. But, you know, it heats up this pretty good because I got a good soldering iron. But, like I say, just be careful, you know, take your time. There's no need to rush. It's unnecessary to rush. You know, especially with these connectors. Just do a good job. That's all that matters. Now, you may need to cut another piece of solder. I probably have to. Let me clean my tip again just because I don't want Now just hold it in the center, in the bottom. Just let it melt. Having quality tools does pay off. It really does. And don't try to jam this in faster than the stuff can melt. Just let it go in normally. Okay, this is as much as I'm going to do right there. Let it cool down just a smidge. Grab your soldering iron. Grab your any wire. Heat it up. Stick it in, it's still warm. Stick it in. There you go. Stick that over there. Don't want to freaking burn this wire. Hold this wire over. Just until it dries. See, I'm filling up these cups just enough to where it isn't necessary to add any more solder. So, like I say, just be careful. This stuff is hot. That wire is hot. It's hot to the hands. So if you're sensitive, if you have hands that are sensitive to heat, maybe go pay a professional to solder these at a hobby shop to solder these for you. Maybe the best suggestion. So I'm just letting you know. So I'm going to unplug this one. I should be using pliers to unplug this. Yeah, it's still pretty hot. So anyway, so you just stick that over there, take this, stick that like that, stick that like that. Okay, now let me just center this. Yeah, see as best as I can what I got going on here. Okay, there we go. So, like I said, you just got to find out what works for you. That's the thing. So stick this on here like so. We're going to do this again. So, I'm going to get a little bit more solder out just because you're going to need it. Okay. Like I say, I apologize if this is a long video, but I don't like leaving stuff out. So I feel that this is an important thing that people need to learn on these castle connectors because they have a lot of hate. So like I say, just heat it up, just like we do with all the other ones. Okay, so hold it in there, straight up and down. Try not to do it so close to the base of the wire because it is a lot hotter there. So like I'm trying to hold it up, it's still pretty hot. It's hot on this thing, pretty hot. So just kind of hold it there for a few seconds. You don't have to hold it there forever. Just hold it there for a few seconds, just enough to keep it so it's straight. Because it'll help you when you pop it back in. Now, alright, so anyway, we're going to let these cool down for a couple minutes. Just kind of let it cool down. You can touch this on the metal thing because the metal surface will soak up the heat. Now let me show you my little custom tool here I made. Okay, now this is a male connector, 6.5 millimeter E-Flight bullet connector. It doesn't matter what brand it is. A bullet connector is a bullet connector. This is a female bullet connector. And I see how I got some solder down on the side. I did kind of a sloppy job. But I filled these, I topped them off, filled these cups with solder. So it makes it so these sides are a little bit stronger, they don't crush in. And you'll see what I mean by that. I filled this with solder. And this is the rosin core stuff. This is it goes inside the wire, pieces of wire strands, I guess you could say, and makes the solder really flow very nicely. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you here is you take this connector. You want to make sure they're cooled down first. So I'll probably start with the other side just because this side's still a little bit warm. So you want to make sure these connectors are completely nice and cool. So you take the connectors, set them down like that, okay? You take your female little connector here. You'll have to buy these separate. It doesn't come in the thing. Stick it over this, right? Take your channel locks. Adjust them to where you think it'll work pretty good. Now you don't need to use a lot of force on this. You just hold it like this. Kind of get it in the right position here. And you take it and you just kind of push down. Usually you may need to knock this down a channel. And these are tight. I mean, they are tight going in, so you may have to use a little bit of force. So maybe my first time trying it like this, but I just thought this might work for someone. Well, let's try it. Popped in. Yep, popped in. Popped in. And you didn't damage the things on that. So let's try it with the other side. Popped in. That's tight. I'm telling you what, these are tight. And look at that. They're popped in. They're seated correctly. They're nice and tight. You know, that's how it should be. So you want these to be popped in. You'll see way down in here there's a groove. It's probably hard to see on camera, but way down there there's a little flat spot, and they sit against the plastic. And they're seated in correctly here. So you're going to want to do that same to the front. Here, so grab your female adapter thing, just stick it over the end. It's like so. Stick it over. Fits all nice and tight, snug. Take this, stick it down in there. Now be gentle. There you go, it pops. That's the rosin, that's the little dust that you saw in the air. That's just that rosin core stuff, because he's right here on top. It's just, see how the solder's there now? Yeah, so this is fully seated in. Easiest way to pop these in versus tapping this on a table or anything like that. All you need is channel locks, female 6.5mm bullet connector, and some, you know, forearm strength, and you can pop them in. That easy. You don't damage the connector. Connector's still in beautiful condition, this side and that side, and bam, you just made yourself the connector, and you got really high quality connectors, and you know, you can say it with confidence that it can handle the power that you're going to be pushing. Because with these ESCs, these bigger ones, they push a lot of power. So, just saying. And then this is a male one for doing the batteries, if you ever want to solder new battery connectors on. So I just stick them together like this and stick them in your RC toolbox, and you never know when you're going to need them. As always, thank you for watching my video. I really sincerely appreciate anyone who likes, comments, subscribes on them. Please give me any comments if you like this video. I'm sorry it was long. You know, I'm sorry it's not the most super fanciest edited one, but you know what? At least it's informative, and it'll tell you how to do things to the best of my knowledge. So, like I say, castle connectors, if you just want to make these little adapters super easy, they work beautiful. Alex RC Freak out. Thanks for watching. Peace.